For March Madness 2022, I am partnering with BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. Using the link in the description, you can get a 125% sign-up bonus using the promo code JOIN125. A $100 minimum deposit is necessary. Get in on the action on this NCAA Tournament and March Madness season and any other sport in general, and make some money. Get in on the action with BetUS. Before we get started with this video, I want to let you guys know about my Discord server. We're talking college basketball live games, just college basketball in general, bracketology, Q&As, all that stuff. Hit the link in the description to join the Super Celtic 24 Discord server. Sup guys, it's Alex here, and welcome to the 2022 NCAA Tournament predictions video. It has been way too long since we made one of these videos. I know it's only been one more year, but this year has been absolutely crazy. We've seen tons of upsets. We've seen teams that haven't really pulled away from the pack. I don't think there's a clear favorite for this year's tournament, which makes that all that more exciting. I feel like there's like 6 or 7 teams that can really win it all this year. I mean, you got Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas, Baylor, the classic 1 seeds. On the 2 line, you got Duke, Villanova, Auburn, and Kentucky. There's a ton of other teams like Arkansas, Iowa that can make some noise as well. And man, this has just been a season to remember coming out of COVID the last couple of years. 2020 ended up getting canceled, as we all know. 2021, it happened last year. We had a crazy game between Gonzaga and UCLA, one of the best games of all time. But it just wasn't the same because all the sites were in Indiana. Limited fans, if any fans at all. So this year, with all the fans back, I mean, me and my boy JRed52, we'll be going to the Indianapolis games, which will be the Kentucky and Tennessee kind of pods right there. So we may be vlogging those. Actually, we'll probably be vlogging those. It'll be a fun time. I'm super excited for those. Super excited to see what happens in this tournament as a whole. And man, you can probably just tell from my voice, I am so ready for this tournament to begin. It's been absolutely crazy, but let's go ahead and kick things off. We'll be going region by region here, filling out each of the individual regions before we get to our Final Four and making our Final Four and conference or championship predictions all together at the very end. So up first, we have the West Regional. Obviously, Gonzaga is going to beat Georgia State. I think that one's pretty obvious over there in the 1 versus 16 matchup. Up next, we have Boise State versus Memphis. Boise State's a team that a lot of casual fans probably haven't realized is actually pretty good this year. Memphis, you got the big name Penny Hardaway coach finally making the tournament here. But for a spot in the second round, I do have Boise State advancing. I think they'll just dominate down low. Memphis, they have a ton of talent, but they've had some kind of issues this year, turning it on lately in the season. But I do have Boise State moving on. But up next, we do have my first upset of the tournament. We have New Mexico State in a 12-5 victory over Connecticut. That is not to take anything away from Connecticut as a whole. They've beaten Villanova. They've beaten a lot of good teams in the Big East. But I think that New Mexico State is playing fantastic basketball right now. They got a good guy whose last name is Rice. I think it's Jabari Rice. He has been playing fantastic lately. I got New Mexico State to pull off the classic 12-5 upset. And then I feel really bad in this next matchup for Vermont. If they were paired up with like maybe a Providence or something like that, I may have pulled off a 13-4 upset. But against Arkansas, who I think is one of the best teams in college basketball, I just do not see that happening. I have Arkansas advancing on right there. But up next, we have another upset happening. We have Rutgers moving on past Notre Dame and then upsetting Alabama. Rutgers, I think, is a team that will make some noise in this tournament. Alabama, while they've beaten, I think they've beaten Gonzaga, they've beaten Baylor, they've beaten Houston, they've beaten a ton of good teams, but they are just super inconsistent if those shots do not fall. I got Rutgers advancing on past Notre Dame in the first 4 games and then beating Alabama, which Rutgers, I mean, they've been pretty inconsistent too. They lost to Massachusetts and Louisiana Lafayette, but they have beaten almost every top team in the Big Ten. I think they can make some noise there and advance on. Then we're going to have Texas Tech moving on past Montana State. I feel like that one's pretty obvious. Michigan State versus Davidson. I feel like this is a 50-50 matchup here. Davidson, if their offense is clicking, they can make a run in the actual tournament. Michigan State, if they can limit turnovers, they've been struggling with those earlier in the season. They've kind of righted the ship here at the end, which is why I am going to have them moving on here past Davidson, who did lose in the A-10 championship today. I got Michigan State advancing on past Davidson, and then Duke will be Cal State Fullerton. So for a spot in the Sweet 16, Gonzaga versus Boise State, battle of 2 West Coast teams. I am going to go with Gonzaga advancing on to the Sweet 16. Up next, I am going to have Arkansas also beating New Mexico State and advancing on to the Sweet 16. Texas Tech versus Rutgers. As much as I want to pick Rutgers to advance there, I just think Texas Tech is going to slow down this basketball game a lot and advance on as well past Rutgers. And then Michigan State versus Duke. In my most recent bracketology videos that I've been doing, these two teams have been paired up in the bracketologies, and I have been having Michigan State win. But do I think that this is going to happen in Coach K's, which I should have mentioned Coach K's. This is his final year, final tournament. Legendary coach, is one of the best, if not the best coach of all time. This is his final tournament, but I don't think it's going to happen here in the actual national championship bracket. But I am going to have Duke advancing on past Michigan State here. I can't bring myself to make Coach K lose right there. I do think that Michigan State has a strong chance to win. I just don't think it's going to happen. Gonzaga versus Arkansas for a spot in the Elite Eight. I've had Arkansas winning a lot recently, but in today's matchup against Texas A&M, they just didn't have it. I am going to go with Gonzaga winning there. Texas Tech and Duke, as I mentioned, I think this is where Duke's run is going to come to an end. I got Gonzaga and Texas Tech meeting here in the Elite Eight. And for a spot in the Final Four, as much as I want to pick the Red Raiders to move on, you got to go with the talent of Gonzaga at least making it to the Final Four. So we'll move over here to the bottom right regional, or the top right regional. I think this is the South, I do want to say. We got Arizona moving on past the winner of Wright State and Bryant. Then we're going to go with a slight upset here with the 9/8 with TCU beating Seton Hall. Then I am going to go with Houston moving on past UAB. I thought that Houston would be a team that I really wanted to, not really wanted, but I thought would get upset by a 12 seed, but I don't think that UAB is the team to do it. Illinois will beat Chattanooga. Then we are going to go, these kind of four games there, me and my boy J Blue 52, J Red 52, whatever you want to call him, we'll be watching those in Indianapolis. I got Michigan pulling off the 11/6. Colorado State is a great team this year, but I think Michigan will want to make some noise after being a projected preseason #1 seed. And then they will face Tennessee, who will beat Longwood. Then we're going to go with the Fighting Sister Jeans pulling off the 10/7 upset over Ohio State. Ohio State. Ohio State has been kind of sputtering to the finish line of their season. Then Villanova will beat Delaware. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, Arizona will advance on past TCU. Then we're going to go with Illinois and Kofi Cockburn advancing on past Houston. Michigan will then fall to Tennessee. I do not see Tennessee falling to Michigan in that matchup. And then Villanova will move on past Loyola Chicago. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we are going to go with an upset here. We are going with 4-seed Illinois pulling off the upset over 1-seed Arizona. Maybe I'm disrespecting Arizona, but I think that Kofi Cockburn is going to dominate down low. Illinois is going to get their revenge from bowing out early last year. I think they can make some noise there, which I mean, they may end up getting upset by Chattanooga in the first round anyway. That could also happen, and I could be completely off guard. But I am going to go with 4-seed Illinois pulling off the victory over 1-seed Arizona. And they will face another orange team in Tennessee. I got Tennessee advancing on here past Villanova. I think that Tennessee is playing some of the best basketball out of any team in the nation. I got Tennessee advancing on to the Elite Eight. And then I also have Tennessee advancing on to the Final Four. The Volunteers, they are playing fantastic. They are playing well in all facets of the basketball game. On offense, defense, the free throw line, limiting turnovers, all that sort of thing. I think that they'll be able to take advantage of Illinois and move on to the Final Four. So moving on down to the bottom right regional, I think this one is the Midwest one. We are going to go with Kansas advancing on to the second round. Then San Diego State, I think, can beat Creighton right there, 8/9. I got San Diego State advancing on. Creighton's been playing fantastic lately too, but I just don't see that happening. Iowa will beat Richmond. Richmond was a very surprised team. Really surprised to see them actually beat Davidson in the championship game of the A-10, but I think Iowa's going to handle the business there. Then I'm going to go with a huge upset pick here. I'm going with 13-seed South Dakota State. They are 30-4 this year. And Providence looked kind of bad on offense in their last game. I think South Dakota State could surprise a lot of people here. 13 seeds. Put this down for your notes when you're filling out your brackets yourselves. In the last 3 tournaments, 13 seeds are 5-7 against 4 seeds. It's almost a 50-50 shot, surprisingly, but I am going to go with South Dakota State. So up next, I am going to go with another upset pick here with Iowa State advancing on past LSU. LSU just lost their coach, Will Wade, yesterday. He got fired for some level 1 violations, so they're in shambles right now. I got Iowa State advancing on. Then Wisconsin will beat Colgate. Don't think that one's going to be very close. Miami pulling off another upset. So this is kind of an upset region. We got Miami, Florida pulling off the 10-7 over USC. I just don't believe in USC this year. Then Auburn will beat Jacksonville State. And then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we got Kansas moving on past San Diego State. Iowa moving on past South Dakota State. Then we're going to go with Wisconsin here, moving on past Iowa State. And then Auburn will beat Miami, Florida, which sets up Kansas versus Iowa here for a spot in the Elite Eight. I'm doing it again. I'm going with a 5-1 matchup. I got Iowa here and pulling off the victory against Kansas. I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas wins that one. Actually, you know what I'm going to do. I am going to change my mind. I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go with Kansas winning it all at this point. Iowa, I was thinking about it with the way they've been playing. They've been playing fantastic, but they have been struggling on defense recently. That's kind of, I feel so bad making that change. I'm going to shoot myself in the foot once this tournament's over, but I am going to go with Kansas advancing on there, and they will face Auburn. I got Auburn advancing on there. 2 Big Ten teams losing in the Elite Eight in this region. Johnny Davis, I do think he will play, but Auburn's talent level, if they can get their guard play to work, I think that they will advance on here. And then they will face Kansas here in the Elite Eight. And I am going to have the Jayhawks of Kansas. They are a battle-tested team. Abaji is one of the best players in the nation. I got Kansas advancing on. So, final region here. Actually, I think this one was the East. I don't remember what the names of the regions are, but we'll go with the bottom left regional. Up first, Baylor will beat Norfolk State. Then this matchup, I am a complete 50-50 on. I think Marquette is the better team, but North Carolina has the talent. I am going to go with Marquette pulling off the 9-8 over North Carolina. Up next, I'm going to have Indiana pulling off the victory against Wyoming. And then Indiana, 12 seed, pulling off the victory over St. Mary's. Though St. Mary's, they did beat Gonzaga earlier this year. I mean, that was only a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a week ago. But Indiana, a surprise team lately, getting a victory against Michigan and then beating Illinois. I think they can make some noise, beat Wyoming, and then beat St. Mary's. Then we're going to go with UCLA here, moving on past Akron. Virginia Tech, 11 seed, pulling off the victory over Texas. Virginia Tech absolutely ran through the ACC tournament surprise team and beat Duke in the championship game. Well, that's a great story right there for the Hokies. Then you got Purdue advancing on past Yale. Murray State, the Racers, 30-2. I got them beating San Francisco. And then Kentucky will beat St. Peter's to round out all of the round of 64 games. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we have our first 1 seed falling here, I guess, actually, you know what? We'll do it. Let's go with Marquette pulling off the 9-1 upset over Baylor. I know a lot of people are going to get mad at me in the comments section below, but I think Marquette with Justin Lewis, he's playing some of the best basketball in the nation. Why not let it fly? I mean, watch Marquette end up losing to North Carolina in the first round, and I'm just way off on this. But I got Marquette pulling off the 9-1 huge upset here. I think Baylor has some issues with depth. I mean, they won the national championship last year, but there's always usually a 1 seed that falls in before we get to the Sweet 16, and I think that'll be Baylor this year. Then we are going to have UCLA advancing on there to the Sweet 16 past Indiana. I think Johnny Juzang and Jamie Jacquez, I think is how you pronounce his name. I think that they will advance on to the Sweet 16. Then we are going to go with the Boilermakers of Purdue winning, and then Kentucky will beat Murray State. Though that one's going to be a tough game for Kentucky to win against Murray State, which sets up our 4 top teams here. We have a 2 seed in Kentucky, 3 seed Purdue, 4 seed UCLA, and then 9 seed Marquette. But I just don't see Marquette advancing on here. I am going to go with the UCLA Bruins moving on to the Elite Eight past Marquette, and they will face the Kentucky Wildcats advancing on past Purdue. The atmosphere for that game, I'm sure, would be absolutely crazy. I got Kentucky moving on. Then a battle of 2 historic programs here, UCLA and Kentucky, for a spot in the Final Four. I am going with the Wildcats of Kentucky with likely player of the year, Oscar Tshiebwe. I think Kentucky will advance to the Final Four. So, here in the Final Four, we have 1 seed Gonzaga, 1 seed Kansas, 2 seed Kentucky, and 3 seed Tennessee. I know a lot of people want to see like double-digit seeds, some high seeds making a run here, which I would love to see. I mean, heck, UCLA made it as an 11 seed last year, but just based off of how this bracket looked, I know it's kind of chalky here once you get to the Elite Eight, but that's just how I see it. I really want to see, before we kind of get into those predictions, some teams that I do think could make the Final Four if they were to make a run. I think that Arkansas, as a 4 seed, can make the Final Four. Then maybe even Rutgers, they can make a run as well. Virginia Tech is also a team you got to keep your eye out on, one of the hottest teams in the nation. Iowa as well. I mean, heck, I originally had Iowa beating Kansas before I changed my mind at the very last second. Then Michigan, they are a team that if they can kind of get their gel together, you got Juwan Howard, Hunter Dickinson. I mean, Juwan Howard is not a player, he's the coach, but I think that team could also make a run as well as an 11 seed, a very strong 11 seed. Yeah, those are the teams that I do think can make a run to the tournament, ones that I haven't listed there, or to the Final Four at least. But getting back to the Final Four, Gonzaga versus Kentucky, I think that the winner of the tournament will come from this game here. I am going to have the 2 seed Kentucky Wildcats advancing on. If Kellen Grady can finally get out of a shooting slump, I think Kentucky will advance to the national championship game there, or they will face the winner of Tennessee and Kansas. Both teams Kentucky has beaten, but Kentucky has also lost twice to Tennessee. I do have to mention that part. But I am going to go with Agbaji, Chris Brown, Jalen Wilson, Bill Self, and the Kansas Jayhawks advancing on, which sets up a rematch of the 2022 or the 2012 national championship game 10 years later. What a story that would be. 2 legendary programs, 2 legendary coaches, Calipari and Bill Self, for the national championship. I am going to go, and you guys are going to say I'm biased, but I truly believe that this team is the team that is better and a national championship leader this year. I am going to go with the Kentucky Wildcats advancing on, winning the national championship. I think that they have it top to bottom. They have the best starting lineup in the college basketball right now. If they can stay healthy, if they can hit their shots, I do think that they can win the championship. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I think there's really 6 or 7 teams that can win the national championship this year. I don't blame anybody for not having Kentucky winning it all, but I do think they're the team that I have the strongest conviction in, with the National Player of the Year, with their hot shooting, with really good guard play. I think Kentucky will win it all. So there we have it. I know kind of once we got to the Elite Eight, that sort of area, my picks were a little bit chalky, but before then, I have a ton of first-round upsets, so make sure if you just skip to the end of the video to check out the Final Four picks, make sure you go back and check them out. I mean, just scrolling through here, you can see some pretty big upsets. I mean, heck, Marquette taking out Baylor in the second round as well. Let me know what you guys think of my predictions in the comments section below. Let me know your own prediction in the comments section below. I really want to see what happens with those. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all later. Let the madness begin.